districts facing funding cuts, administrators, teachers, and parents are concerned about what that will mean for student achievement. But does money have a direct link to student success? Detroit 2020 looks at a new study for possible answers.
Allison, we'll start with you.
Class size.
Who knows that first word in number 3? I don't know that word.
Teacher salaries. Extracurricular activities. These are some of the things that could be impacted by smaller school district budgets. Does that mean poorer communities will suffer most? Not necessarily. Michael Van Beek is Director of Education Policy for the Mackinac Center for Public Policy. He just completed a survey of revenues and spending in Michigan. The study grouped school districts as being city, suburb, town, or rural.
What we found is a lot of things that will, I think, challenge sort of the conventional understanding about how schools are funded and what some of the problems that schools face considering their funding and how they spend their money.
Let's start with funding. Along with bond sales, schools get local, state, and federal money. The study looked at spending on a per-pupil basis. Large city districts, which is only Detroit, spent the most per pupil, $15,570 per year. Large suburbs, which include places like Trenton, Novi, and Mount Clemens, spent an average of $10,846. Van Beek's study did not look at the possible correlation between spending and achievement.
What we set out to do is just kind of look at what the differences are and set that first and see what those are, and then go from there and start to look at you know, what the policy implications of this might be.
The implications will likely go beyond just money. We looked a little further for a possible link between spending and achievement. We found that Bloomfield Hills is among the highest spending districts, with more than $18,000 being spent per student per year. Wyandotte, on the other hand, spends about $13,000. When you compare the number of 8th graders with passing MEP scores in math, Bloomfield Hills has a significantly better percentage than Wyandotte. But you can't chalk up the difference to money alone. If you add Detroit with a relatively high support level, you find a much lower MEP score. So there must be other factors involved. The Mackinac Center study did find that all districts spend the most money on instruction. That's primarily teacher salaries.
If we're going to try to save money on what we spend on schools, we will have to look at that. I mean, you know, you get to the point of diminishing returns when you continually try to reduce costs on everything but the largest item that schools spend on. So that will have to be part of the conversation, absolutely.
We often hear suggestions that school districts are top-heavy and cutting administrators would be a good way to reduce costs. But the Mackinac study shows that administrative costs are relatively small, amounting to only about 5 to 6% of the budget for districts in each category they looked at.